Okay, in lab this week, your goal is to find 3 news stories on the same topic, but from different countries. Because what we're going to do is look and see if we can find out some information about worldview in the countries, about these countries. But really, again, for this week, it's finding 3 news stories on the same country. Google News is the easiest to use to do this. So you can see I kind of have my Google News open. If I want to take one of these top stories, you can always expand the story. So if you click here, it expands the story. And you can also go and see real-time coverage. If I look here, I could take this from, here's the Washington Post. That's going to be a United States or American news source. Most of these are American news, but see, there is BBC here. So if I wanted to, I could use like a Washington Post, and then I could use a BBC. But then again, I'm going to have to find one from a different country. I don't see those here. I can expand it for see real-time coverage, and then it brings up all these different ones. And again, I'd have to go and start looking and see if any of these are going to be a different one. So I would have America, I would have the BBC, and then these right now just kind of look like they are mostly United States ones, which of course makes sense. One thing I can do is I can also change the edition and see if that helps me find an article. Of course, what I want to be careful when I do here is I want to make sure that it's English. So I could do Canada English and see if any of these, now Toronto Sun, okay, although again, this went for top stories. The Globe and the Mail, I might go to this one and then see if this is indeed a Canadian paper. To make sure it's a Canadian paper, I'm going to have to look somewhere and see this one. See, this one came from Washington and from Reuters right here. So this really isn't going to work because it's just a Washington paper. So again, since that's not going to work, I'm going to go back and I might keep looking and do see real-time coverage here and see if they're going to give me something. Ottawa Citizen. Okay, this one right here, Ottawa Citizens, this is going to be a Canadian one. Although again, it says it's from the Associated Press, so that's not going to work for me. I've got to find one that's actually from Canada or a different country if I'm going to compare a third one. Okay, Hamilton Spectator. I don't know who that is. I want to look at the Hamilton Spectator one. All right, let's see where this one. Okay, Hamilton Spectator. Again, I'm going to look connected to your media and try to figure out who these people are. Let me go down and see if I can find an about. Okay, here we go. Toronto Star. Okay, this one is probably Canadian. Let me go ahead and click on About Us. Aha, Canada. All right, so now what I would have if I wanted to look at that same article, all talking about the GOP healthcare bill, I could print this one. So I could print, I'd have a Canadian source. Then I could print, I'm going to go back to my United States paper here. Then I could print one from the Washington Post, and then I could print the BBC News, okay? And so then I would have my 3 articles. That's what's going to work for me. And I would start doing, saying what the main idea is. They're going to be slightly different for each, and I could start the analyzation, which I would continue next week. So again, as you're using Google News, the really important thing to use is remember that if it's one of these stories, any of these stories, you can use the drop-down menu. It's going to give you some different articles. Then you can also use real-time coverage so that you get more articles to look at. And I mean, you can see here there's 112 articles. You could just open all of those up. And if I wanted to see about, something about Mike Pence, I mean, this one I would have to really decide. These stories need to be the same. So that's really what I have to decide is that I'm looking at ones that are exactly the same. So finding those stories. And then again, I can also change the edition here if I'm having trouble. A lot of times what happens is you can find the 2 articles pretty easy, usually a United States, maybe a British, but finding the different country can be very difficult. If you're working with a specific country, it's always great to go to that specific. If the article tends to be, or the news story is about like something with Cuba, then it would be good to find maybe an American, maybe a British, and then go and find something from Cuba. Again, of course, it needs to be in English so that you can read it, but you can also change the edition of the paper and see if that helps you. All right. So this is what you want to do this week is, again, find those 3 news articles all on the same story. So if you're looking for Keystone Pipeline, all 3 have to be about the Keystone Pipeline, but they have to be 3 different countries. Same thing if you wanted to look at any of these stories about the murdered Russian guy, there I would do one from United States. I might find somewhere else. I'm not sure where. No, he was in a Kiev hotel. So I would try to find a Russian article, and then I would find a different one. Okay, this one, is Beirut. It talks about Beirut in Egypt. I do U.S. I'd probably try to find one from Egypt or Lebanon, and then a different one so that I could look at 3 different countries. All right. So use that. If you have any help, if you need any help, reach out to me. Remember, this is a 2-week project. So you want to get started this week, get as much done, then that way you can finish it next week.